Hey everybody! Welcome to the Friday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy, along with her devoted servitors, Justin and John, and a paint-stealing Kiki. No paint stealing. Also a very sodden Kiki because it is another rainy day here. Hey, what's up? She's just terrible lately. Kiki, no. Come on, get out of here. Come on, get out. She's just a dweeb. Let me get her wrangled. Hi. Yeah, do you want to say hi to people? I'm afraid you'll be a dingo if you come up and say hi. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Big dweeb. Quit biting me. No bites. No bites. Just up here. Up here. Hey, hey, what's that? Hey, what's this? What's this? Chaos Kiki is in the house, everybody. Hold on, I gotta get rid of her. Nope, nope, nope. Come on, let's go. Nope, nope. Come on, go, go, go. Go find your chew. Come on, let's find your bully stick. Where is it? No. Nope. You're barred. You're barred. I think you're going to be barred. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to open it. But we're going to see what you do. And if you proceed to try to bite me... Oh, nope. 1 second, guys. I have to do the disciplinarian tactic. Yeah? You going to go settle. Good girl. She's been regressing lately, so essentially I'm at 0 tolerance level for mouthing at this point. So that means if she mouths, she's out, and I'm like gone. You're gone. Yep, you're gone. You're right. You're out. Nope, nope, nope. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Nope, nope, nope. No bites. Bye. Yep, 0 tolerance. She wants to mouth a lot lately, and she's too big. So it's like the minute she mouths, out. Usually I leave the room, but since this is my office, she's just not going to be given an opportunity. Oh, happy pre-birthday to your Papa Chase. Yeah, mine, she's very bitey lately. David is really frustrated with her because, of course, he's never gone through this phase. And I'm just like, nope, it's just like unequivocal. I put myself in the room, she mouths me, I leave. Like, just teaching her over and over and over again that if she tries to mouth, she's gone. Like, she loses her person, and that's what she wants. She wants to interact with me. Or David. Yeah. So now she's going to be a dork. If I have to, I can crate her, but I've been trying not to. So we'll see what we can do. But if she starts, like, barking and really, really being disruptive, then she'll be put in her crate. But yeah, her options are shrinking, whether she understands it or not. Well, that's right. We were going to do transparent stockings, weren't we? Let me see here. I think I was working on the green. The green on her face, wasn't I? Yes. And I also did some reddish purple for her hair last time, which I like, actually. I like. So, all right, let's get this up where we can be in focus. Hello, Agent Marble. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. You guys can't see the green very much, but I assure you it is here. What was I using? Was I using Boggard? I just don't remember. At this point, I just do not remember. I don't think it was Grave Loom. I'm pretty sure it was Boggard Green. When doing kind of an ashen brown thing. Cool, Heckman. Yeah, she was actually my least fave that when she came up for vote, but let's see. So that's Bird. But she has hair here that I totally missed last time when I was blocking that in, so I'm going to need to do that. So we've got a black-red dress going on right now. And I was highlighting her skin with the green since I started out with a purpley color, just to give her an unearthly pallor, as if she was a vampire or a, you know, a really nasty necromancer. So I'm going to grab some of my stuff. My stuff is everywhere, sadly. I'm I feel so disorganized right now. Like, I really need to sit down and reorg my paints, because I'm, like, losing stuff. Like, everything is crawling into the other room. Yeah, she's a goth. Yep, we're gothing her out. And I think I used Orchid for the hair. But Succubus Kiss would also work great there. So let me just mix up a little bit of my nut brown, which is nut brown plus, I think, Syrian sand or white is what we did for the skin. So I'm going to mix that up so I have that color. Sorry for the lateness day, guys. It was like David hit snooze one too many times, and neither of us realized it until my alarm went off. And then we were like, oh, and yeah. Plus my neck has been nasty, which is really just my back telling me that it is really nasty, and it's like just traveled up through my shoulders to my neck. So I was a slow Ann today as well. It wasn't all David. Yeah, David never hit snooze before I came along, but I tend to do one snooze and then up. And he has, sometimes he still does, like, and it really depends. Like, I feel like when I get him to go to bed earlier, then he's better about getting up. So I'm doing kind of a 1-to-1 Syrian sand and nut brown here. I'll probably have to transfer some over into a new well and mix it in more white, but... And it was very rainy today. And then when he took the puppy for a walk, when he started the walk, it wasn't raining at all. But then when he was like halfway through, it turned into a torrential downpour. And I bought him a new umbrella, and he totally didn't take it with him. Because it wasn't raining when he started. So yeah. All right, so I've got kind of this, you can see this purpley brown color on my brush, which is definitely like more of the shadow color that her skin tone was. And then we were lightening it. So I'm going to transfer some of that over to a new thingy. I'm going to grab, it's like my really pale skin colors are in the other room. No! I might just have to add white and a touch of something else. Yeah, that's one of the great joys of not having cats, Agent Marvel. I hate to say it, but... not having an extra alarm waking me up in the morning. I don't miss that. I don't miss that part. I don't miss the part with the cat waking me up in the middle of the night, too, because he wanted a snack. Like, it kind of keeps me, honestly, it keeps me from getting a cat again. Because my sleep is so important to how, like, my quality of sleep is so important to how well my day goes that I just can't sacrifice it anymore. Oh, interesting, Quindy. So she's the opposite of what you need. Like, I love cats, but I also love my sleep, so I'm like, maybe when I get older, if I already can't sleep, my mom is having, as she gets older, she's having real troubles sleeping for, you know, she'll wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. David's mom is the same way. Hopefully I do not get into that particular aging pattern. I love my sleep so much. All right, so I've mixed up this color, and I've also added white, and I've got my green here. I'm going to thin that down. You're lucky, Kodiak. Yeah, Panther was just like that. Like, he'd get bored in the middle of the night, and then he'd wake me up. And if I gave him a little tiny bit of kibble, he'd, like, leave me alone. And so sadly that got to be a pattern because I just desperate to be asleep and I didn't want him to keep waking me up. So essentially the cat was able to manipulate me through my need for sleep. But it's just, it makes me reluctant to like put myself in that situation again, even if it is a rarer situation. At this point in my life, I love the fuzzers, but I also love getting things done before I die. I hate to say it, guys. It's like Practical Ann coming on here. And if I'm going to get things done, I need to get good sleep. This is a proof. Ah, my water bottle is being annoying. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's true, Quindy. If you got that, that's not a bad cycle. As long as it doesn't totally disrupt your sleep. All right, that was a little bit more water than I wanted into my green, so we'll see if it actually works. Looks like it'll be okay. Let us resume our skin highlights. So we already got, like, the legs here we actually did do. I think I did a lot of it. I just didn't bring some of it up as much because it was on the underside of things. I wanted to address the décolletage a little bit more, and then I need to figure out stockings, how we're going to do them. So I just want to highlight this area real through here and a little bit on the neck here. All right. Yeah, that's the problem with two cats. Yep, right there. Especially if they don't self-regulate. Yep. Yeah, with our dogs, with Kiki, she's on a regimented amount of food. Like I measure everything. I've just learned it's the easiest way to keep them from getting overweight is to just measure the food. So I weigh it. I do it by weight. Just bring it in a little bit more on that back thigh. I don't want it as bright as the front, but I do want to see the highlight. Yeah, that's the thing. If David went to bed earlier, I think he wouldn't need a snooze. Yeah, Thormel, that's a bummer, isn't it? You want to sleep in, but you can't because it's just habitual for you. So I got really cool news yesterday. I should have the thumbnails for my book covers, my first 2 books covers, by tonight. We do thumbnails, and then we approve the concept, and then she'll do like the actual render and the coloring. Yep. And then I got my book. I finished my proofreading edit yesterday on time, on target. And I also got it, the whole manuscript uploaded to my layout program to make it look nice in Kindle and in print. And it looks pretty pro, guys. I was very impressed. I was like, dang. And then I went looking for ISBNs and realized that they're expensive. You don't need an ISBN number for an ebook. Amazon will, and technically Amazon or Ingram's will assign an ISBN to your print book if you don't want to pay for your own. But if you don't pay for your own, it's actually listed. It won't ever list you as the publisher. It lists them. And I would rather have that be me. So now I have to Luckily, it's like 125 bucks for one ISBN, but it's like 295 for 10 ISBNs. It's like, seriously? I think you could buy like 1,000 for like 1,200 bucks. It's ridiculous. Alrighty, but yeah, all the things I'm learning about book publishing, right? Because you do need one for your, if you're doing a print edition, which I am definitely doing. So, and you need one for every single different edition you do. So if you do a hardcover, that needs a separate ISBN from your trade paperback. And if you do a large print edition, which I'm also pondering, then you will also need to have a separate ISBN. So, all right, we're just layering up this color here, making it a little bit brighter. Her skin looks pretty luminous. I kind of like it. I want to solidify this highlight up here. Yeah, because I care so much about like the quality of my book when it comes out, I'm like going through all these hoops. A lot of writers probably wouldn't do it. That's something people don't realize, I think, is that the desire to have a product have the highest quality possible is actually not universal. A lot of people just really want to get stuff done and out. Like, they want to write a book, and they want to publish a book, and then they want to move up on to the next book, and it's not rewarding for them to try to make the book, to try to go over and over the book to make it better. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they write a lot faster than I do, probably. Oh, really, Agent Marvel? Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Money talks. I mean, I have the hope that the voice of the masses will be heard by the Hasbroians. But big corporations have made stupid decisions before. Just hitting a little highlight on the ear there, bringing out the highlights there. Launch when good enough, on to the next thing guy. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm the opposite. I'm like I want this to be the story I envisioned it being, and I want it to have, a good cover, and I want it to have a good blurb, and I want it to have a good this, that, and the other thing, and I want to edit it, 5 weeks from Tuesday, and it's taken me so long. Like, I could have done that, like, and gotten it out 5 years ago, I bet, Big Tempo. They always say your first book, it takes you a long time, often, and longer if you're like me. But yeah, if I had not been this type of personality where I cared so much about the quality of the product, I could have had this book out 4 or 5 years ago, easy. But it is a much better book now. Like, I can see it, so... Rock Cash, she's a necromancer. I don't know what her fluff is. She used to be something different. Terezinya used to be the name of a necromancer in thrall to a necrodrake, an undead dragon. But I don't know what has happened with her backstory since then, because she was put out as one of a new faction for Dreadmere, for ReaperCon. So I don't know if that's still her backstory, or if Ron just reused the name and decided to change the character. But she has always been a dark mage or a necromancer. So I'm just painting her really to look really pallid and gothy. So I'm starting with like a purpley brown skin tone, and then I'm actually highlighting it with this pale green to give her kind of an otherworldly look. The hair is going purpley red at this point. I need to fill that in, so we'll probably work on that next. And I wanted to do different colors of black on her. So the crow will probably be a blue-black, the dress is a red-black, and probably her boots will also be blue-black, and maybe the leather. So I'm going to try to see if I can make things stand out. I mean, we have a lot of minis, like Assassins and Dark Mages and everything, where you want to use like a really dark color scheme, but it can be very hard to paint 28mm without a lot of contrast. So I'm going to see what I can do with it. Oh, WotC's new statement was bad. I wondered about that. See, you never want to do that. Like, if you've already, like, jumped the shark, you really don't want to double down on it. And it sounded when they said that WotC was going to do a, a talk or whatever, I just cringed because I'm like, somebody's going to try to justify themselves and they're not going to succeed. They're just going to piss people off more. Yeah, you don't have to paint it like a streak, but I decided to do them like white streaked. Yeah, Ravenloft. Yep. Yeah, I had the original Ravenloft module back when it came out because it had amazing Clyde Caldwell art on the cover, and I bought it. And then I actually ran it for my little brother, more or less. I mean, as much as you can run something for your little brother when, like, you're 13 and he is, like, 9. All right, so I'm going to grab the Orchid Purple because I think that's what I was using on the hair. And I want to get that down on the rest of the ponytail here. I'm not going to thin it because these are small areas, so I don't have to worry about brush strokes. They're textured also. And it's a color that's pretty transparent. You guys can hear the rain, I bet, through my microphone. It's pouring out. It's okay if the world is small and the adventure is short. Yep, yep. Well, the original Ravenloft module was, I mean, it was just Ravenloft was a king, it was a kingdom, like a castle and a kingdom plunked down in the middle of everything. It was before they made kind of a whole world about it. Yeah, it's a very big castle. It's super, super big. Yeah, just take it a step at a time, Rock Cash, for sure. Oh, no, Turgeon. Yeah. Yeah, I would say some regrets there, yeah. I mean, it depends on what you want. If you want a whole world of darkness or if you just want to focus it on, like, one small kingdom that your characters are traveling through. And then the hair actually goes down all the way to under the book here, so I'm going to grab it. And that'll help me, like, just use that color in different places. I can also repeat it over here with these little pouches and stuff over on her belt if I want it. Or I could do the bracer. That's a thought. The bracer's probably a good place to have it. Like, yeah, traditional Ravenloft world is getting stuck in it, yeah. That can be cool and not cool. I mean, if your characters really don't enjoy the story, then it becomes a royal pain because then, they're stuck in it, but they really hate it, and you don't want people to hate your game. So, because that can get that way with Ravenloft really fast. Some people adore it, and some people are just going to be like, I'm really sick of this, So, just make sure there's a way to expedite them out if they really start hating the game. That's my advice for Ravenloft. And sometimes they think they're going to like it until they're actually in it with all the craziness that goes on in a Domain of Dread. Yeah, they should be, Crowley, but you never know. Yep, content warnings and limits. Yep, Big Chimp. Exactly. That's kind of my point. It's like, because you never know until you're in there. And if you have, like, if some of your players really like sandboxiness and really like to have the freedom to do whatever, and Curse of Strahd, you know, is at least the old Ravenloft put some pretty serious, like, dark crap happening to people's characters. Like, I would hate it. I don't think I would even sign on to the game, but if I wasn't familiar with it, and with what, you know, like, if you're going to have them, like, slowly turn evil, you know, that kind of stuff, like Critical Role Campaign 1 with the Briarthorns, you know, where they stayed every time they went to sleep. That's a very Ravenloft mechanic. That can really mess with people, because if you've got a person who really loves their character and that's why they play the game and their character starts turning, you know, evil, that's a big nope right there. You lose a player. So, yeah. I just always liked the whole vampire lord in the castle kind of thing, who, you know, controls the kingdom and has this brooding backstory. So, other gothic horror isn't always my thing, but... Yeah, as long as you don't do a mechanic like that will just slowly turn people evil, I think you'll be okay. It can be pretty epic story if you run it that way. And he definitely is a very challenging villain. I'm going to do the bracers in this color. I might highlight them slightly differently to make them different in the end, but... Yeah, remember to keep it just a little creepy. Yeah, don't let it... That's the thing. If you're going to run Ravenloft, like, do embrace the creep a bit, because otherwise you're just running D&D. And then it's not nearly as cool if you don't embrace the setting. I'm going to just paint right over the fine details on this guys, because I'm just going to come back and hit them later. It's just, they're so fine, the little emblems on her bracers. It just doesn't make sense to me to stop and try to paint around all that. I'm just going to paint over it. And then this one is right up against the hair, but it's not like right up. There is a gold, or there'll be a gold border around the bracer, or a silver one, so I'll still go with it down here. That's okay, I was late too, Twisted Oma, and I'm the one who the stream is about. Yeah, background music, if you... Yeah, it depends. You might have your players suggest some. I tried black background music once in a game, and I ran into problems with it, because if you're using anything at all popular, then people will almost always have an association with it already, a mental association with it, and they may not find it scary. Like, here's an example, and this is what came out to bite me. You use the soundtrack from X movie, but little do you know that X movie, one of your players just found ridiculous, and so, like, he and his friend laughed through the whole thing, and so then when you use that mood music, it has the opposite effect. So having your players suggest soundtracks or scores that they find creepy might be the best option. Yeah, Skyrim is great until you've got that familiarity with it, and then you're like, I feel like I'm in Skyrim. And if you're running a Skyrim-esque game, like if you're running a Northern Mountains kind of Monster Hunter type game, then using the Skyrim soundtrack is fantastic. But you need to make sure your players have a good association. If you have a player who hated Skyrim, then they're going to, like, grit their teeth every time that music comes on. So music can bite you as well as they can help you. Yeah, for sure. I know that I will never use mood music in a game again, purely because I had such a negative experience with it. It like had the opposite effect that I wanted, and I'm like, that annoys me because I do like to surprise my players with stuff like that. And so for me, asking players for suggestions wasn't like what I wanted to do, and so yeah. Alrighty, so we've got a first coat on these bracers. Now I'm going to do... Now I need to watch out, and I probably need to use more purpley colors or pinks to bring up the red here. I'm not sure, because I'm also working with red. I might use like fire red. It's what I've done with orchid purple before. But the problem is that the dress also is going to be brought up with some red. So we got to kind of keep these colors from fighting as they are very close. So probably the hair's got to come up brighter, a lot brighter than the dress. I probably need to use the same color with them. Yeah, no, Castlevania. Yeah, it might not be an issue. Your players might just go all in. They might be all into it. So, you know, don't be dissuaded just by my negative experience. But I do like to mention that because a lot of people think music is always a plus, and it's not always a plus. Alrighty. Now, normally I would throw that purple in here. I still might. My gut says I need to put purple on the interior of the dress. Just, again, because we're going for a bit of contrast. I think I'm going to start working up the red on the dress, and then I'll make my decision. So, okay, I need my Rogue Shadow. Where are you, Rogue Shadow? That is not Rogue Shadow. I may have taken it in the other room, and if I did, I'll have to go get it. Yeah, I think so. Let me go and see if I can find my Rogue Shadow, and then I will be back, and we will do it. Okay. Well, this is the same color, actually. This purple that I'm using, the orchid purple, it's the same as the hair color. Like, it's the same color I'm popping around. So I'm essentially repeating the color around the model, which is something I like to do. However, at this point, I really want to see how red I'm going to take the dress. And it's not going to be very, because it's supposed to be a black red. Yeah, moody and generic is best. And yeah, and leaning into the feeling of that movie again can backfire on you if somebody didn't like the movie. Oh, that's funny, Shadow Raven. Yep. Yeah, the pacing thing is a good comment, too. Yeah. When we wanted moody and dark, we just played by candlelight, and we didn't use music. Yeah, that's true, Carly, the generic stuff. Honestly, probably the biggest ambience enhancer I ever saw used, and not every GM can pull it off, but I had a GM who liked to run really dark stuff. And what he would do is he would do cutscenes. So we would do something, and he would like be at a point where we were, you know, like maybe we were settling in for whatever, we just finished something. And then he'd be like, cutscene. And he would narrate to us, just like out of a story, what the villain was up to in the meantime. And that was so huge, like, because there was always something horrible. Like, it was always something horrible. And, like, you wouldn't be able to see how it would directly affect the party yet. But it definitely planted, like, a lot of paranoia and heebie-jeebies. It was really cool. Yeah, can't do candlelight. Yeah. Yeah, we could do candlelight. We were able to do candlelight. So if you don't have an animal or something that's gonna disrupt your candles, then yeah, I had fun with it because then you can control the ambience a little bit. It's easier for people to get in that mood when it's kind of dim. The other thing you can do is if you can't do candles because of cats, just get a dimmable, like one of those Halloween lamps that's just dimmable. Or there are other lights like you can dim down and give kind of an orange cast. Even my paint light here has a setting that's reddish, and I can dial it way down. So if you give that like really, really more dark room. But yeah, the cutscenes thing was really effective for putting in a sense of menace and darkness. He was pretty dark guy too, so it was always super like creepy inducing. We were so happy when that game ended. Like, it was cathartic. We were so happy. Yeah, all sorts of bulbs that look like flame, yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, there you go. The LED votive type cans. Yeah, what Twisted Oma says. If you have cats and stuff. It's just a good anything that gives you that kind of that ambience. All right, I got my Rogue Shadow, which is my core of my black red here. And now I want my red. And I think I'm going to use fire because I want a colder red. Yeah, you could use dark mode and invert. That would be fun. Yeah, it's all just, Shadow Raven, it's all just ideas. Those little flickery votives are actually super cheap if you can get them on sale. Like, I've seen them sold very inexpensively. Alright, so fire red. And I'm going to need to do a lot of mixes, I think. So I'm going to try mixing my fire red with my Rogue Shadow just to see what kind of color I get. And if it's not cold enough, I'll try to mix in some of the orchid purple in between. So let's pull that down. But that's going to be a really rich dark red there. That's going to actually work pretty well. Yeah, it's all in how much you want to try for the ambience. Like with a game like Ravenloft with Castle, with Strahd and all that, it makes sense to strive for it. But I mean, I even used it in Werewolf games. Werewolf being my favorite role-playing game, because when they had moots, so like the characters would be like in their normal world, but then when they had to go into the cairn to where all the more traditional werewolves lived, everything was by the big meeting was by firelight, right? So I actually would do the candle thing when they were going to talk to other werewolves, and it definitely changed the whole mood to not have their comforting electricity when they were talking to all these, like, especially the werewolves who really wanted to kill all the humans. Right. It's just fun stuff to mess with. None of it is necessary. If you have a group that really gets into stuff, none of it is necessary. All right. I'm going to try this red. It's got a bit more Rogue Shadow than Fire Red in it. I want it really dark. If I want to keep this dress looking black, then my highlights need to be very, very small. Mood, yes, yes. Yeah, I love Werewolf. I love it. It's got everything that I want out of a role-playing game. I mean, 9-foot tall werewolf monsters plus cool, like, spirit world where you can pretty much create any kind of story you want. Plus heroic storyline, epic heroic storyline, like, equals good job for me. I like it. So I'm going to try to get some of this dark red and see how it looks. And I don't want to cover more than half the surface. I want to keep it very small. And chances are it may not even be visible on camera until I start getting it highlighted up. So maybe I'll do it on the back instead. All right, so let's look at the back. You'll probably be able to see it better, and I probably need a black backdrop at this point. So I'll start it bigger than I need it. And this is the Rogue Shadow plus the Fire Red. And since I'm putting it over a very dark color and near black color, just like painting over black anytime, the color you put over it is going to mute down. This is almost a black cherry color. But it's going to mute it down, and it's going to make it, you know, more difficult to layer the color up. It's going to keep it close to black, which is actually what we want. So I put a layer of it on, you can just barely see it. Compared to this, you can see the difference there. Yep, no links allowed. Sorry, Quindy is the only one who has the power to link. Yeah, and you can put colored films around the, if you wanted to make the colors different with that Twistodoma. Yeah, the 25th anniversary edition. If you wanted to check out Werewolf, the 25th anniversary edition for sure. It's on DriveThruRPG. They kickstarted it. It updates the rules. It you know, it gives you the setting real solid. You really only need the main book. Although if you get one other book, I would say Umbra, which is the about the spirit world, because werewolves have the ability to step sideways into the spirit world that parallels our own, and then off deeper into the spirit world there are separate realms that pretty much embody like a whole bunch of different like histories and possibilities, and you can make anything. You can make anything you want out of the Umbra. So I would say those two. There are also, like, in the old days there were tribe books and stuff like that, but you don't really need one. I mean, the tribe books would give each of the players of those tribes a few more options for, like, gifts, you know, powers and stuff, and more detailed background and factions within their tribe and stuff like that, but not necessary. But yeah, 25th Anniversary Edition is a really nice book. I also like the D10 system. Like, it does definitely have some flaws. Be aware that it's not a crunchy system. Like, if you want crunch, do not go to the Storyteller system. It is not made for crunch. So I may regret going so heavy with this red, but I'm going to go heavy with it anyway. So now it's starting to look, see, now what we're doing is we don't have so much black anymore, do we? Because I've gone and put a lot of red over the top of that. Do you guys see how it shifts? So if I want it black, I need to go back in and put in a lot more of my Rogue Shadow. So I'm kind of showing you guys like surface control and what it's all about. But I'm going to put up some higher highlights first, I think. Yep, classic, yep. Yeah, that's the classic. The classic werewolf from the 90s, they did a 25th anniversary edition, Shadow Raven, and it's very good. Yes, yes, and there's like there's a lot of each umbral spirit realm has its rules too. It's neat. It's very neat. So yeah, it's like because you can do anything with the Matrix in Shadowrun too, right? So same kind of thing. And I like Shadowrun for that same reason. Although Shadowrun makes it harder because only your decker really goes there, right? And maybe a rigger. Whereas in Werewolf, all of your player characters can go to the Spirit Realm, right? Some of them have an easier time getting there than others, but in general, werewolves all have that ability. So it's like if everybody in the party could go to into the Matrix, right? So crunchy means you can really number manipulate it. It means really like how in 3.5 and Pathfinder you could totally tweak your character to be absolutely OP. You can't do that with Werewolf. It just doesn't happen. Sure, there are certain stats that will make you more powerful in combat generally, but yeah. Yep, more crunch, more rules. Thank you, Crowley. I wasn't quite, my brain is a little bit today still. Yeah, exactly. So the storyteller system is called the storyteller system because it put an emphasis on the story and not necessarily on the rules. There are just enough rules to give you a system and allow you to do pretty much anything you want with it. But it's not like, it's not trying to be that super rules heavy system. It's trying to do the opposite. It's trying to, as a GM, I loved it because it was so simple that I could teach it to new players just in one session and they'd be pretty good with it. So yeah, I just always, as a GM, I always appreciated a simpler system because it let me tell the story and function like without having to look up a bunch of rules. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit more of my fire red in, and I'm going to do some really sharp highlights with it up here. Try to bring in, got to bring in more of my black here. But I'm going to just bring in the fire red mixed with just a little bit of the rogue shadow, just along the line of here. I have to keep my shadow, my highlights really small. Ah, fade is very low crunch. Yep. Yeah, so I would like that too. My big problem, like I stopped running 3.5, I stopped running Pathfinder because there were so many rules and I felt like I could never know them all. Like it was so hard for me. And then the minute your players got above like 5th level, like there was just so much they could do. There was so much the monsters could do. It was just too much prep for me. I just couldn't do it. Did not enjoy it. And then every time I wanted to do something, you know, my players would be like, well, what rule is that, right? It's like I had to like look up a rule for what I wanted to do as a GM, and that just totally kills my creativity. I'm just like done at that point. Yeah, I can play Pathfinder because I can know the rules enough for my own character. But I even then I don't like it as much. So I'm just pretty much putting a streak of red right on the top. You guys can see that red coming down that line right there. I'm going to darken down around it. Make sure I've got my rogue shadow solidly in here. It's not a red brick, actually, Slowpoke. It is a color, it's a liner. It's from a fast palette that Reaper puts out. It's called Rogue Shadow. So it's kind of a red liner. So it's a near black with some red pigment in it. And that's the bottom part of it. I'm trying to essentially do a very red black. And then I'm mixing, into that I'm mixing Fire Red, 9004, to make highlights. Because I want to just have that it's kind of like those funky cloths that look kind of almost black, but then when they hit the light, they go to a bright red on the highlight. Oh, Sam, you're so silly. I'm not looking forward to taking Kiki for her walk today, guys. It is really miserable out. She's going to get a short walk, and then she's going to be a total dingo. Especially because she's sleeping all during this stream, so like now she's going to be full of beans. Yeah, it comes, I don't remember, Quindy, do you remember which fast palette Rogue Shadow comes in? Is it Surf and Turf or is it, Surf and Turf is not the actual name, but it's the only one I know. Big Jimbo, Kiki could care. We've had so much rain since we got her, and also it was rainy when they get summer rain where, you know, she comes from in North Dakota. So Kiki has been rained on multiple times, and although I would say it gets her a little bit more wound up, excited because it's different, she doesn't care. She'll just walk in it, which is great. Gloominggrave. You think it's Gloominggrave? No, I think isn't Death Knight Black Gloominggrave though? Because they each have, it could be Dungeon Dwellers, yeah. Yes, that's why the bottom of the robe doesn't look black anymore, because I've put too much red on it. So, I've also got this black base behind it, which changes it as well, but now it's looking kind of like a dark ruby, right? Think it's Dungeon Dwellers? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, thank you. It had to be one of those. It had to be Surf and Turf or Gloominggrave or Dungeon Dwellers, because those are the 3 fast palettes I own. So yeah, if I want these areas to look black again, then I have to darken everything down. And of course, the fact that I use Rogue Shadow and not actual pure black is also having an impact here. Like there is actually no pure black on this model. Now, what I can do is I could bring in pure black into these shadows, but then I'd be giving you a framework for like, you know, like really judging everything as black. So actually, let me do a thing. No, it's not really at the right time to do a thing. Sadly, I was gonna say if I bring in some of my blue black that I want to use as my second black, then we can see how we can make this look. And also keep in mind I don't have any of my bright colors on here yet, so those will push this darker. Yeah, I know, I'm forever calling it Surf and Turf too. Because High Seas Horror is too hard to remember, or whatever the heck it is. But yeah, the Rogue Shadow does have a little bit of a hint of red to it, so essentially by highlighting it with a red, that's also just picking that up more. So it's a very near black. Surf and Turf is the only one currently available, yeah. So the whole point of this whole exercise was to paint a model in numerous dark, near black colors, right, and show that you don't have to just paint your assassin black. You can actually use colors. You just need to keep them really, really, really dark. So adding just a little bit of that brighter red there. But I'm liking, this is a very like dark garnet kind of look. It's showing a little more red on camera than it is in person. Oh, all right. I think I need a little bit to thicken up my Rogue Shadow, speaking of, because I want to go and do the top part of the dress. Technically, Rogue Shadow out of its bottle looks like a lot like brown liner. It's got a little bit heavier coverage. And a lot of people would look at it and probably just see a different shade of brown, but to me, I definitely see red in it, and it's definitely coming up really well by mixing the red into it. So I would say that my gut instinct on what is in this is pretty on. Adventure colors. Thank you, Quindy. Yeah, that. This is actually a good place to check. I can make the bird blue-black. And then we can highlight both. Just mixing up a little bit of black indigo to put it over the bird and see if I like the color. Oh, the rain. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to make Papa some stuff to keep her busy this afternoon without a walk. It keeps coming down like this. Oh, it's packaging. Oh, yeah, it's the boxes, huh? So black indigo is not quite as dark as the Rogue Shadow, and I may need to go to blue liner instead. But we'll see. I'm going to get this crow or raven, crow I think, done in the black indigo, and then assess. So what we're trying to do here is we're like, okay, we want this model to be super dark in a lot of ways. And so I want to use colors, but I want to use super dark colors. And we're going to essentially try to make a lot of things black, or the essentially black, but then to highlight them with different colors and make everything stand out. So what we're really looking for is, can we paint this model really dark and still have the details stand out at 28 mil, which is so hard. I haven't figured it all out, Smallish Sam, on the NMM. I may have to go for a contrast on the NMM, or I may try to go really dark and just put really spot highlights on it. This is all just a grand experiment at this point. It'll definitely have to have very bright highlights or it won't read as NMM. Like, it has to have pretty much white or off-white. So the highlights must be there. But I could probably make a lot of, like if I did a silver, I could probably use a really dark gray and then do just the highlights and reflections. With dogs, usually it's treadmills. You train the dog to trot on a treadmill. But we don't really have the room for a doggy treadmill in our house. Also, they're not cheap. You can use a regular one, but it's not as long, and you would want a longer one for a dog like Keeks. But luckily, I made some treats inside of, not Kongs, but kind of a similar idea. Frozen pumpkin with some apple baby food and a little bit of canned food in it. and I froze those, so we may end up using those today to keep her busy and occupied and happy. I got some scent work stuff for her, but I haven't had time to like read up on the training process, so I don't want to use it yet. Maybe this weekend. All right, so we've got our crow definitely going in a different color. I feel like the boots are going to be this color as well. And I'm just going to paint over the entire boot, even though it's got areas that I could do as metal. Some of these I won't. Like normally, if I was painting for 28, I would make these skulls all metal, right? But because I'm going darker and I'm trying to keep it dark, I may actually do the skulls like they're tooled leather and only do metal on the buckles. So that's another thing if you want to paint a really, really dark model. I can still do the tooled leather and like bring up the highlights on those areas if the boots are glossy. Another thing I can do is kind of swap these colors around. Use the Rogue Shadow to shade the indigo, and use the indigo to shade the Rogue Shadow, or use like a blue liner to shade the Rogue Shadow. Introduce a different color and throw the eye off a little bit. Now we're starting to bring in all the dark. Yeah, exactly, because everything's very pale up around her face, right? It's part of the reason to use those white streaks in her hair is to pull the eye up. If I don't put a lot of bright stuff down here on the bottom. But yeah, getting more of the model mapped in with dark stuff is definitely starting to have an impact just on how pale the skin looks. And I think I am going to go with that purple down here. I'm going to shade it pretty heavily though. I think I'm going to shade it with the indigo. So hold on while I get a bit of my purple limbered up. This is again Orchid Purple. It was a Kickstarter color that came out later last year. It is a gorgeous color. It's like a raspberry red purple. It's so pretty. I use it on a lot now. It's one of the colors I actually bring with myself everywhere because it's a great shader for reds. And it's a great foundation for purples. So let's go with that, and then let's darken that down. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go in and probably shade it with the indigo color. Yeah, she's very gothy. She's very Curse of Strahd herself. And then when I do the bone, I'm going to be going like way dark with it and bringing it up just really. I'll probably start with walnut or brown liner, and bring it up. So everything will start very, very dark on this model. Except for the skin, which should make the skin like really pop. All right, and I think the bottom of the book cover is also going to be the indigo. So my main colors here are indigo and red purple. And the only way that that red purple avoids clashing with the red dress is if I keep the red dress very, very dark. And if I also darken down the purple with different colors and bring it a different direction. Or I highlight the purple with the same red and just make them lighter and darker versions of each other. So you've got a couple of different options. But one way or another, you either need to pull them together or push them apart. If we take that purple and we highlight it with the same red that's on the rogue shadow, then they just start reading as lighter and darker versions of the same color, and that works together. Yep, yep. Yeah, succubus is a little more red. They're both really translucent colors because of the pigments. There's just no good way to make magenta cover well, except adding white, and when you add white to it, it washes out so easily. Oh yeah, the rain is like, you think you're gonna take that puppy for a walk? I guess I could take the umbrella, but that gets her wet again. Well, that's good, Crows. I mean, the obvious choice is the magenta or the red for the bookmark, because you're alternating, right? I'm to the point where, Crowley, I'm to the point where I've run out of color slots, because I'm going to have my indigo, my lighter purple red, my black red, and then I've got bone and parchment, right? So that's 4 colors right there, even though the bone and parchment is going to be a bit more of a neutral. But I don't have a lot of options for a accent color on this right now. I've got a couple of tiny potion vials down here that I could maybe put an accent color on, and then the bookmark. If I do it, I'm probably going to go orangey yellow maybe, because the beak of the bird might be that color. Otherwise I have to, yeah, I know, right? I just want to go back to bed, Quindy. Total rain background for you guys. Rain backdrop noise. So there's, but then you've also got this little gemstone thing hanging down. You've got some room for accent colors, but I've got to be careful with it. So maybe I would go with an orange. Orangey gold. Not sure. Gonna almost certainly do all of the metal type stuff with a really, really black silver. But yeah, so it's really, at this point, the accent color is like dicey. Not sure. And that's where you have to, when you're trying to keep it dark, you gotta like, I want everything else filled in before I start looking at what the accent color is going to be. Because there are just some times where I'm just like, huh, and I'm not sure. Like right now I've reserved the right to make the bill of the bird a different color, but technically with a crow it should be black anyway. So we have just a few, yeah. And if I use a really bright color, it's going to kind of detract from elsewhere on the model. So yeah, I have to kind of question mark that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I love the sound of rain. It makes me happy that our house is so rainy sounding when it rains. I think the papa's totally crashed out in the other room. Yep, have fun, Shadow Raven. Yeah, I'm really considering whether or not to take Kiki for a walk. I should probably check my phone and see. I'm going to bring some of this black indigo in here. But I should check my phone and see what the forecast is. So just a bit of a bluer purple in the shadows there. Don't want to lose too much of it to blue because the boots are here with the indigo, so I don't want too much of that. But we are filling the model in at least. And I'm debating kind of this belt bit, what I should do for it. I almost feel like I should paint it with the Rogue Shadow and just leave a thin thread of silver backing it, because I don't want it to be light. Normally I would paint it like gold, right? But I'm not going to do that this time. I want this to all be dark, so I think I'm going to do that. So essentially we'll keep a little thread of silver border there, but and that drops down more of our stuff to a black, near black. And I have to ask myself about these bands at her middle. If I want, I probably want to take those blue-black. And if we don't highlight these appropriately, we won't be able to even see them because we're doing black on black. I could also make them the silver color and then at least pop the highlights, but we'll see, we'll see. So we're filling in more. More of her outfit is just straight up black. Well, we'll see if we can differentiate these colors as we start adding highlights. All right, so we got some stuff going on. While I've got my red color, I'm going to at least put a layer of highlight up on the sleeves here. Alrighty, so just trying to bring up my red here. I hope everybody has a nice relaxing weekend lined up. I'm going to be falling over because I've been working so hard this week. The end of yesterday, I just felt tired. So getting some red highlights on that, which you can see a little better there. Crowley. Have fun at your meeting. Thanks for the papa emojis. And a little bit more red on the backs there of the sleeves. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how dark I can keep everything and still have things stand out. I may tune the hair a little bit too. We'll see. Oh. But yeah, definitely a sleepy day. Oh, the rain. The rain ennui. It's probably why I should take a walk. If I can manage it without getting soaked. Yeah. Yeah, I should be on streaming tomorrow. It's my intention to stream tomorrow. On my own stream, so twitch.tv/paintingbig, somewhere around 3:30 p.m. USA Central Time. I may need some coffee, but you know. If you want, it really depends on what you want your neutrals to be, Crows. So like if you're using some dark brown on the other parts of the mini, or if you're using, I might go with a lighter, I guess you're just talking about the horns though. I mean, you can always take them dark brown and highlight them with the lighter bone color, but I would definitely make the bone color and the book color similar. Oh, yep. Have fun, Agent Marvel. Yeah, we'll end the stream soon. I just wanted to go a little later because I started later. And because the Keekster is still asleep. Just darkening down that purple there to see what I can do with it with the indigo. But yeah, I'm getting that's pretty close to where I want to. Yeah, I mean it's out here. If you do dark horns, it's gonna detract less. It also depends on how white you make the bone. Like this model could be problematic if you did it with dark skin and hair that didn't have white in it, just because you want to pull the eye toward her face. I mean, you can always just paint it dark, and if you don't like it dark, you can always just highlight it with the bone, and like I said, and I wouldn't overthink it. I would probably just start dark and then you can always bring it lighter. Another coat of that purple on there to pop that color deeper. If you have pale flesh, you could be okay. I mean, the skull is right up here, like it's kind of a focal point because she's looking at it already, as Big Chimpo points out. Yeah, I think that might be where I end today. Got a lot of little fiddly stuff on the front, for sure. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm actually gonna paint in the beak. Make the birdie very dark as well. Again, if I wasn't trying to make everything very, very dark on this model, I would do the bird's beak probably in a lighter color, but as it stands, we are going very gothy. Lots of dark. And I need to make a note of the colors I used. Yeah, if you wanted to. It's really hard, Big Chimpo, to do a OSL with like something at the end of the arm, unless you make it. I actually demonstrated this recently with the mouseling. If you're going to do OSL on this figure, you really needed to paint the rest of the model as if it was in the dark. Because the light source at the end of the arm is really problematic otherwise, because the further away the light source gets from the figure, the dimmer it gets, really exponentially. Like a normal light falls off really fast unless there's a shiny object to pick it up, like the end of this blade. So doing a light source with the skull seems like it's fun and cool, but not really, because I've already started painting the rest of the figure as if it's in normal light. So I would have to darken everything down and only focus the light here. Plus, I'm probably going to be doing a colored light if I have the skull glowing, so that means it's going to shift the colors. Everything is going to shift. So that's the problem with deciding at kind of the last minute that you want to do a lighting effect, is like you haven't factored it in at all, and so it's not going to look great. I mean, you could still experiment if you wanted to with the skull, and yeah, it is in the perfect position to light up all of her face, but then you'll lose your skin tone to whatever color the skull is glowing. Yeah. Yeah, James is a pro. He understands. I mean, it's a decision I made at the start of the mouseling as well, right? I knew that I was going to be doing a lighting effect, and so that informed all of my decisions moving forward as we made the cold and warm stuff. So yeah, so that's why I would not do a lighting effect with the skull. Then you've also got the thing where the skulls, again with skull eye sockets, you've got a shadow there, right? So it's really hard to make them look like they're glowing. You can do it, but it's not an ideal. Like, I tend to be very picky about what models I do OSL on. They have to really be a good model for it, and this one I don't feel that this one is. This one obviously is. Thanks, Ibrahim. Yep, so we're wrapping up with our Necromancer today, and we will be on Monday wrapping around back to Ye Old Fishy. We were working on his copper a lot. It's really looking cool. We did the shoulder pads. We finished up the thing. Ibrahim, you want to, it's a hard one, Ibrahim, because Ron is our art director, but he's also helping run the company right now because our CEO died, passed away, sadly, over Thanksgiving. So right now I imagine it's very, very hard to get a hold of Ron. If you are in the USA and you can come to ReaperCon, which is our convention, that's honestly a lot of the best way to get attention because you can bring examples of some of the sculpts you've done and talk to him. Because talking in person is going to be much easier than trying to email him right now. We have a lot of sculptors already, so I don't know that Ron is looking for anyone. If you want to, a lot of sculptors these days just start Patreons and do their own files and sell them. Yeah, sculpt a lot, take really good pictures. Well, if you're sculpting in 3D though, if you're sculpting with ZBrush or a rendering program, Crows, you don't even need to take good pictures. You just take a screenshot of your render. And yeah, you can send your portfolio to everybody, but often in my experience in this industry, if you do not make a personal connection with the person in charge, and you just randomly send them stuff, you have a lot less of a chance of them opening your email. Okay. You do have an art station. Yeah, it's a hard industry. That's why I think so many really good sculptors are just doing their own Etsy store, their own Patreon, their own art station, their own whatever, right? Because it's much easier to do that than to try to get into a company. Reaper's not that hard to do a sculpt for, but like I said, you tend to have to come and pin Ron down in person or have a personal reference. Like if you're friends with, say, Bobby Jackson, who's a Reaper sculptor who's been working for Reaper for decades, and Bobby recommended you, then that would be different, right? So it pays also to make friends in the sculpting industry, because if you have a friend who works for a company and they really think your sculpts are good, they can give you an in. So but it's not easy. I'm a freelance, I make my living as a freelancer, and it has been a long, hard road, for sure. So good luck to you. Just keep sculpting. Like if you achieve the status of where you really start to stand out, people will notice. Even in the crowded, right now it feels like the industry is getting very crowded, right, with 3D sculptors. But even with that, the people who are really good still stand out. So just keep working at your art. Yeah, no problem. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard to be creative, but you know what? It's also exciting to be a creative these days, because with Patreons and Etsy and all the rest, ArtStation and all the rest of the sites, we can get our work out there now, right? You can get your work out there. It's just at that point, it's up to you to discover your own style and your own to refine your art, to make it really cool, to the point where you start to stand out and gather your audience. But the demand is out there, so just keep going, just keep going. At the very end of things, just enjoy what you do, because then you always have the enjoyment of your art. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, cool. Well, I'm gonna call it, guys. We'll go and work on Fishy on Monday. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I hope you all have fun stuff planned. If I actually have book cover sketches for my novel, I will share them maybe on Monday. Assuming they're decent. I don't know. I heard an artist that I do believe in. I really like her work, but you never know until you see the sketches, right? So, all right, folks. Have a great one. Quindy, as always, thank you for wrangling the stream. I don't thank you enough at the end of these things. I hope you also have a lovely weekend. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.